Well, some of you said that you would like a update on the hatch every once in a while, just in vlog style. So instead of sitting down and writing a script, I'm just going to go off the cuff and show you kind of what I've been up to in the last couple months since I posted. The last video, I believe, was the ice racing video. That was in March. And as far as driving the car, the weather hasn't been great. And it's just now starting to get nice again here in Minnesota. But I have had a couple of small projects. You might have seen the shorts that I posted about. Wanted to go through some of those things here and just show you what I've been up to. First major project that I just finished is putting a new oil pan on. So I put a steel oil pan on in place of the factory aluminum oil pan, just in case we get any road contacts. I do push the car pretty hard on the track, and I really don't want to break open the aluminum pan and lose all my oil and destroy my engine. So I did add a transmission brace too. You can see that right there. The factory aluminum pan came with a brace. So this is the original pan here. You can kind of see that there's bracing built into it. This is where it connects to the transmission bell housing. I kind of wanted to retain that. I didn't want to lose that by switching to the steel oil pan. So I went ahead and got a transmission brace used off eBay from a CRV. Happens to bolt right up. What you can't see is the baffle that I put in. I put an oil pan baffle from Circuit Hero. It actually bolts to the block girdle. That was a whole fiasco, kind of. So I've got a whole video coming out on how I did that and sort of some of the issues that I had to deal with just to get that pan in. Long story short, I had to take the timing cover off. Timing chain had to come off to get to the oil pump chain because the K20A from the Euro R has the big oil pump with balance shafts in it. So that wouldn't work with the baffle. So I had to replace the oil pump with a K20 unit. Even though this is a K20, it's more like a TSX engine than it is like an RSX engine. But I'll go into all of that in a future video that'll be coming out soon. The point is, it's baffled now. It's got a fresh oil pump, a ported oil pump from 4-piston. And so we're all good there on the oil. We are good to go for track season. The other small thing I did over here a couple months ago now was I shaved the exhaust pipe flush with the fender. So I think it looks a lot nicer now. I posted a poll and most of you guys said to cut it flush, and I certainly agree with that. So maybe throw a comment down. Tell me what you think on that. Meaner and cleaner. That's how it looks. God, why am I out of breath? My goodness. Anyway, what else have we been doing? Okay, while we're on the front here, let me show you this. Let me just grab this light here. If you see this piece of ABS plastic here, if you guys have seen my my other video, my build video or the ice racing video, you'll know that this whole front grill was blocked off for the winter just to keep coolant temps up, since I've been doing some ice racing and stuff. So it gets really cold out here. For the summer, I've opened it up and really tried to increase the airflow to this radiator and just direct all the air I can right into the radiator so it doesn't go around. I put this air dam in, and it's not perfect. I'm probably going to redo it when I relocate the fog lights. These fog lights are going to go over here so they're out of the way of the radiator. Yeah, this turned out pretty good. There's a little, trial and error here that I'll probably redo, like I said, but I think that'll help with cooling a lot. Air is lazy and it'll just go around a radiator, especially on Civics like this where, the top half of the radiator is totally blocked by the bumper. I also added this hole right here too. You can see that goes right back to the radiator. Hopefully that combination of things will help keep temps down this summer, and I'll be able to make it through these track sessions without overheating. If you've watched any of my other track videos, you can definitely see that I'm overheating about 15 minutes in usually to a 20-minute track session. So those things combined with replacing the coolant, instead of 50-50, we've got just water and water wetter from Redline here. I use this stuff. Apparently you can get down 20 degrees cooler with just water, straight water and water wetter compared to standard 50-50 mix. So I've used this before with good results, but I've never actually just run it with water, straight water. So we'll have to see how that shakes out over the course of the season. I'll get back with updates on some of these temps. The other thing I did, speaking of coolant systems, is disconnected my heater core that I was using for the winter. So this line was coming from the head here. So I've disconnected that for the summer because I don't need it, and I don't want hot coolant running through the heater core and heating up the interior any more than it already does. So it gets pretty hot and muggy here. So god damn it, why am I out of breath? I'm just nervous to do this vlog or something for some reason. My goodness. Anyway, I don't really need the heater core for the summer, obviously. The coolant running through those lines gets extremely hot, and those lines run right down past my feet. There's just a lot of radiant heat already that comes through the firewall into the interior from this engine because the firewall is super thin. So I want to try and minimize heat coming into the cabin here. What else? Oh yes, the fuel cell. Since this is only a 5-gallon cell, I do run into situations on the track where I'm running it pretty low. I have run into some fuel starvation on the track around really hard corners. So I wanted to avoid that as much as possible. I don't want any engine damage due to high RPM fuel starvation. So I went ahead and put some foam inside the tank here. I did a short about that as well, so you can check that out if you want to see a little bit more of it. But there's basically 3 rectangular pieces of foam in here, kind of forming a U shape around the pickup like this. This is just open cell foam made for fuel cells. It doesn't take up hardly any volume at all, so you're not really losing any capacity due to the open cell structure. That should help a lot with the sloshing around. Even though this fuel cell is baffled internally, I was still getting more slosh than I wanted. So now it should be really set up perfectly for the track for the year. So I'm happy about that. That was really easy and pretty cheap to do. So that was kind of a no-brainer. I put the summer wheel and tires on. We've got the Graham lights here with the Bridgestone RE71 RSs in 225 50 R15s. As you can see, they are pretty worn from last year. They've only got 1 season on them. 4 or 5 track days, maybe 4 track days, I think, from last year, and a little bit of street driving. I think they'll be fine for at least a few more track days. We'll just sort of run them until we can't run them anymore. I think it's looking pretty decent on the whole. I've taken it on 1 drive so far since I swapped the tires, but I did have the suspension disconnected for the pan baffle because I had to take the strut bar off because the valve cover had to come off and all that. So the suspension was disconnected. So it's got to settle in a little bit here with a couple more drives. I do want to get this gap down a little bit. It's riding a little high at the moment, at least in the front. I'll take it on a few more drives, let it settle in, and then adjust that for the next track day. As far as what's next for the car, projects-wise, we're looking at getting a rear sway bar set up. The car is all-wheel drive, so there's not really any off-the-shelf aftermarket options for the all-wheel drive rear sway bar because the end links tend to sit right where the rear axles are. So it's going to be a little challenging maybe to find something that will work. I have reached out to a few different manufacturers to ask them about that, and I think that I have a bead on something that might work. So it does handle really well right now already, but I would like to get rid of that body roll and stiffen up that rear end so that I can get this car to rotate a little quicker into corners. Being all-wheel drive, as soon as the front tires start spinning around a corner or start losing grip, that power is getting transferred to the rear wheels, but that front end is already washing out in some cases when the the front tires are hot. So I'm just losing a little bit of grip. So I get just a tiny bit of understeer, and I really don't like understeer. I'd prefer oversteer. So I'll see if I can figure out how to get a sway bar installed on the rear without the end links interfering with the rear axles. Other than that, as far as upgrades for the car, the next thing I want to focus on after that is the brakes. This car has the tiny 9.5-inch rotors up front, stock Civic brakes. They are just really, really small. I am able to lock up the tires, so I technically don't need bigger brakes or more powerful brakes. The only reason to upgrade the brakes is just the size of the heat sink, because I do get some fade on the track. Because the brakes are so small, they don't have a lot of mass to them. They heat soak really quickly, and I just start getting quite a lot of fade sometimes, especially on braking down from the straightaways. I'm looking into bigger rotors. I eventually want to do the Porsche Boxster caliper swap in the front and run the Mini Cooper rotors, but I might have to wait to do that when it's within the budget. So in the meantime, potentially looking at just an adapter, a caliper bracket that moves the caliper farther away from the spindle, so that I can just use a bigger rotor with the same calipers. So looking into that, that's a pretty cheap upgrade, and that'll get me at least a little bit more heat capacity in the system and a little bit less fade, hopefully. That will also increase the brake bias a little bit more towards the front of the vehicle. I do have a Willwood manually adjustable proportioning valve, so I can adjust the brake bias front to rear to compensate for those bigger rotors pretty easily. So the other thing I want to do with the brakes is brake ducting. I'm looking into just running a simple brake duct to the back of the rotor, and hopefully that'll help as well. Other than that, I mean, I got a list of upgrades as long as my arm, so it never ends. There's going to be plenty of content around this. It's all just going to kind of come out as I get to things. So what's next? I do have a track event coming up on Saturday. That is this Saturday, May 3rd. That's out at DCTC. That's where all my other track videos have been filmed. And then there's also another track day event, same place, on the 17th. So I'm hoping to get out to that one as well. Other than that, there's a few car shows that I'll be going to. Other than that, for videos coming out soon, I've got the full oil pan baffle video in the works. And then I've got another one that I've been working on, kind of a juicy script. I'm not actually sure if I'm going to turn that one into a video or not, but still working on it a little bit. Appreciate you guys all watching. Yeah, if you like this vlog style, let me know in the comments. I'll do more of it. Sometimes you can't justify making a whole scripted video for little updates like this. So if you guys enjoy this, then maybe I'll do more of it. Let me know, like, subscribe, tag along, and thanks for watching. See you out there.